All right, we're live on Facebook. Hope you guys doing really well. Um, Super excited, super pumped. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me fine? Just let me know. I'm about to get started. Second live for this 2020. We're going to chat about goals and how to make your 2020 best year ever. Some of the things I'm going to share as well. And I promise you, if you stay till the end, you'll see that it's not just standard jargon which is available on the internet, right? So just stick around with me for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 minutes. So we're probably going to be pretty quick, and I'm going to dump everything so you guys can actually think about it in your own time, right? So if you guys can hear me, let me know. And you can hear me fine. I'm just making sure I can actually share my screen and all that sort of stuff as well. Just give me a few minutes. I'm going to get this going. I've got a few things happening here as well. All right. So today's topic, we're going to chat about how to make 2020 is the best year ever, right? So that's what we're going to chat about. Hang on. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And let me share my screen as well. So you just don't have to just stare at my face, and you have something to look at it as well. So here we are. And let me put this here. Okay. All right, screens is here, screens live. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about today, right? So if you know me, from last many years, one thing which always intrigued me, what makes humans move, right? What makes human beings take any action? What's the reason people stop taking action? What's the reason something happened? And, this time of the year has always intrigued me. Always intrigued me. Why is that? Because I was one of those people who always, at the end of the year, in December time, I set goals. By the time December comes, or by the time January comes, I'm really excited. I'm really pumped. But after a certain time, I'm just, nothing happens, right? Nothing happens at all. One of the things which I realized with the time are these sort of things which I'm going to talk about today is we should have been taught at schools, at unis, right? One of the worst thing you can say that none of the schools, none of the unis talked about this stuff, which I'm going to talk about today, right? So everybody knows that, right? We all have to have goals. We all have to have somewhere to go to. But nobody talks about in depth. Nobody gives the principles. Nobody talks about the nitty gritty of the back end stuff. How do I actually make it happen, right? So for me personally I was one of my clients early on that things just didn't work for me. I gone and looked at the books. I started reading a lot of books, which made more sense, right? So some of the people, things which I didn't understand, which I wasn't taught at schools and unis, I sought for help from other people who were the experts in the industry, right? So some of the things I learned, right? Some of the things I learned just completely changed, blew my mind why things happen this very specific way. So I'm going to share this with you guys as well. Take this today because this is the best time of the year, because things you can put in place now will stick around with you for next 5 to 10 years, right? So promise you, this is something not you're just going to look at it and say, I'm just going to do it, this is my goal. You can apply this in any part of your life, whether you want to have new goals, whether you want to have new mission, whether you want to have new target, or whether you want to get rid of something from your life, whether it's some bad habits you're not good with, some of the things you don't like it, right? So anything you're going to either want or want to get rid of, you can apply this, reverse everything what we're going to talk about, right? So let's have a look very quickly. What we're going to chat about today is overall, I'm going to chat about some small stuff as well, but overall, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about why people can't achieve their goals, right? What's the reason? What's the reason behind this? The people just can't get what they want, right? What's the reason? And how to make your 2020 the best year ever, right? What can you do in your life so that you can make this 2020 the best year ever. So let's have a look very, very quickly. And I talked about this in my book as well. If you read it, you probably know this, but I'm going to share this very, very quickly, very briefly as well, so you guys can have a bit of understanding of. I talked about this called a feedback loop, right? Feedback loop is very important, right? Feedback loop is a loop which pretty much works 24/7 with us. It's always on. Feedback loop is always there. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter where you are, feedback loop is always working. And for some people, feedback loop is working in a good way. For some people, it sort of works in a bad way. And we're going to chat about this. And hope you guys can see my screen as well now. So something which I want to share this with you guys, right? So this is the way the feedback loop works, right? So we all start with the belief, right? Anything happens is starting with a belief, right? So I'm just going to get into the content. Hope it's okay. I'm not looking at the comments. What are you saying there? So I'm going to come back and look at your comments later sometime. But just keep listening. Stick around with me. Listen to this, because spend a bit of time on this. I'm not going to be looking at the comments. So just put your comments. I'm going to look at it later, and I'm going to respond back later on, guys. But let's go through the content very, very, very quickly first, right? So feedback loop. Why the feedback loop is really important. Feedback loop is working 24/7 for us, like all of us. Doesn't matter where you are, where you at, feedback loop is always on. So let's start looking at why, right? So anything happens in our life, everything starts with a belief, right? If you want to gain weight, if you want to gain muscle, if you want to lose weight, if you want to have, reading skills, you want to become a public speaker, you want to do anything in life, start with a belief, right? You just got to believe in this first, right? So if you don't believe you can lose weight, doesn't matter how much you try, you're just not going to lose weight, right? So it starts with a belief. When we start anything with the belief, number one step is a belief, right? Once you do a belief thing, then we start with the action, right? Means that I want to lose weight, and I'll take a bit of action, right? I'll go out and take certain action. When you take certain action, with part of that is you get certain results, right? When you take certain results, or when you get certain results, you get a feedback, right? With the feedback, it starts with the belief again. So let me give you an example of this, right? So belief creates action, action creates results, results create a feedback. And for most people, this is a very interesting thing, right? So for most people, the feedback is always kind of negative. And I'll give you an example, right? So you never worked out in your life, and you decided that this is now start of the new year, and you're going to lose weight or gain a bit of muscle, and you just turn up at gym. And you believe that, right? Believe that, yes, I can do it. I can do it. And you spend a bit of time, a week or 2 weeks, working out at the gym, right? When you do that, you did a belief, you had a belief, and you took certain action to do the work. But what happens is 2 weeks, if you're new to this space, the results are not that visible. You don't see the results straight away. They don't just come to you straight away. Means that the results are not there. So when the results are not there, either yes or no, you see a feedback. The feedback could be that, I don't see the results. There is no point in doing it. I don't think so I should be doing it. It's not for me. I'm probably not going to be able to lose weight ever again in my life, so I don't need to do this. Or it could be, it's just 2 weeks. I need to just consistently keep doing it for next 3 months, and I'll see the results one day, because that's how it works, right? See the difference? This is the way it works, is from the results, depending what sort of feedback you're giving to yourself, that creates a result, that creates a belief, and that belief creates a new action, right? So this is what's happening to most of the people. If you are running a Look at any example. You can't make money, you can't have relationship, anything, right? Go out on a date, you have a belief that you're going to find a partner on this date. Go out and meet that person, take an action, go have a dinner with that person, and that person doesn't call you back. Means that the results is not there, right? That the person doesn't call, might be lost your number or anything, right? But the belief or the feedback comes in mind saying that this person doesn't like me anymore, so I don't have a date. So that's how it works, right? So this is very, very, very important for us to see that most people in their life, the feedback works in a negative way rather than in a positive way. I'm going to give you an example of this as well. So um, so this is I'm going to stop sharing this and start sharing this. Yeah. So what happens is, if you look at it, most people, this is the British professional cycling team. And what happened to them is, for most of their lives, right, British cycling teams been pretty bad in a way from a cycling perspective, right? So they started cycling, I think, from 1908 till 2003. They only won one gold medal. Right, nothing happened. So they were cycling, international cycling team. I think at the time they called Team Star or something, and now they just renamed in 2019 to Team INS. Right, that's a team now. But Team a long time ago they had a different name. But for 1908 till 2003, for almost 100 years, they only won one gold medal. They were the worst team, like from a Tour de France to Olympics, very, very bad team. Nobody wanted to work with them. Nobody liked them in the cycling world. Even you wouldn't believe there was a one manufacturing company or cycling manufacturing company decided that they're not going to sell their bicycles to them, or they're not going to give their bicycles to them. The reason for that is, if somebody sees that, they might think that because of their bicycle, this team is not winning. So they decided, the manufacturing company decided that they're going to give their bicycles to British professional cycling team. And that's they didn't want to have any association with them. So what happens is, those guys were pretty good. They hired this coach called Dave Brailsford, a cycling coach. Now he's the GM of that cycling association at the moment, right? So they hired this guy, and this guy came up with, I don't know whether he actually came up with, whether he read it somewhere, but he came up with this pretty cool stuff called the aggregation of marginal gain. Aggregation of marginal gain, saying that rather than you changing your life drastically, rather than you make changes in everything, like like a cold turkey, you'd make a 1% improvement, 1% improvement effect. What he said he applied the same technique in the cycling team. What he did was, he pretty much redesigned the bikes, he redesigned the clothes, he redesigned the type of cycles they had. He redesigned how those guys were sleeping on the mattresses, redesigned the pillows, he redesigned pretty much everything, the way they were practicing, the way they woke up and do the practice, everything. He pretty much gave them 1% improvement in every area of their life, from the way they actually walked, the way they spoke, the way they thought, from that to cycling practice to doing everything from that. So what he said is, the law of the aggregation of marginal gain is called the 1% improvement. So here's the results, right? These guys gone crazy. From results were pretty phenomenal. What happens is, from Beijing, they won 60% of the gold in Beijing Olympics, and the same thing happened in London Olympics. They won 9 gold medal. They didn't, seven world records, 9 Olympic records, because of this, right? So the law of marginal gain. So this is what they said: the aggregation of marginal gain, 1% improvement, is completely changed everything. In next 10 years, what they did is, they had 178 world championships. They had 66 gold medals. They won 5 Tour de France. That was crazy, right? Think of that, is for 100 years, nothing happened, right? With this one thing which they did for 10 years, completely changed the way the cycling world works, especially in the British cycling. So 1% effect. And this is what we're going to talk about, right? 1% effect is, you won't notice anything today, but for a longer run, it's a massive, massive, massive change. And here's the biggest secret: stop having goals. Stop having goals. Because what does goal do is, goals is sort of give you the destination. This is where you want to get to, but start having a systems in place. Start having a system in place, which is a process to get the goal, right? System is to pretty much get the goal, right? Otherwise, there is no point because this is what most people do. So what's the difference, right? What is the difference? So the difference is the goals are results, right? Goals talk about the results all the time. For example, I want to have a healthy body. I want to have a fit body. That's my goal. I want to become rich. I want to have $1 million in my bank account. I want to have a partner to get married to. I want to have something, right? Goals are always talks about the results. This is what I'm looking for. What system talks about is system talks about the process. Means what is the process? If I want to have a healthy body, if I want to lose weight, if I want to gain muscle, instead of saying that I want to do that, just say I want to eat 5 meals or healthy meals in a week, right? I just want to have 10 healthy meals in a week. That's a process. That's a system. Or doing certain things every day in your business, in your life, which will help you to become rich if that's the goal, right? So means that what I'm the goal is good to have. This is the destination I want to walk towards, right? This is the place. For example, the goal could be I want to get to Sydney, right? So the process is you could catch a bus, you could catch a plane, you could catch a car, you could catch Uber, you could catch anything, right? So that's the process. So what most people do is they're trying to work towards a goal but forget the process. They forget the process, right? Because the process is the one which is going to make that result, so the dream come true. So goals are good for direction. Goals are really good for direction, that this is the way I want to get to. Systems are really good for the progress. You want to have a system, right? So the funny thing is that everyone has goals. Everyone, right? So everyone has goals. If you look at it, everybody today, ask anybody, they would have goals. Everybody's got goals today, right? They want to get somewhere. They want to have something. They want to get rid of something, whether it's a positive or negative goal. They do have goals, but only certain people get it. Only certain people get it. The reason only certain people get it is because the people who get it have a system in place. They have a process in place to achieve those goals. So what it means is get used to, get in love with having a process, because people who achieve it, they have a process. Let me give you an example of this, right? So if you want to become a best Olympian, right? Um, you could actually sit and think about it, or either you can jump in the pool for next 5 years, 5 to 6 hours a day for next 7 days. I mean, every week for 7 days a week for next 5 to 6 years of your life, right? So that's the process to get there. And get the process to have an environment. We're going to talk about this today, right? So this is the way you could actually have it rather than just thinking about a goal, right? Goal in itself is just a direction. Create a system and follow it if you want to achieve your goals fast, right? So, and this is very important. Why can't people achieve their goals? What's the reason people can't achieve the goals, right? We all know that it's because of their habits, right? The reason people can't get to where they want to get to is because they have a thing called the habit. Habit gets in the middle, right? So um, un- unless you change the habits, the goals, you wouldn't be able to get to those goals unless you change the habits, right? Habits are main thing. And we're going to look at it today. What are the main things you could actually do to change those habits? Because um, everybody's got a habit out there. Either they want to get rid of, or either they want to adapt. Either they want to have new habits, or either they just don't like certain habits and they want to get rid of those habits. And we're going to look at those, right? So before I get into that further, I want to have a quick look at it. Where you guys at? Any questions? What's going on this? Cool. Awesome. Look, I'll have a look into this, but this is really important. If you want to have goals, if you want to have a process in life, there's certain habits has to be developed, right? So it's very pretty common that we all understand it, that if I want to gain weight or lose weight, I need to do certain things, right? It means that I need to become or make these certain habits, and most people just can't do the habits, and there is a reason for that. So let's have a look very, very quickly how to change those habits. How can, or what can you do to change those habits, right? So here's an example, right? There are two ways you can do it. One is very straightforward, which most people do it, means that they have an outcome based, right? So um, let's look at an example of this. One is an outcome based, the other one is identity based. Outcome based would be, um, say, for example, I want to stop drinking beer, right? Or I want to stop drinking completely any sort of drink. I want to stop drinking any alcohol. And outcome based would be, I go to a party, somebody asks me, hey, do you want to have a drink? And my answer is, sorry, I don't drink. I'm trying to quit, right? I'm trying to quit. The identity based would be, um, sorry, I don't drink at all. Sorry, I don't drink, right? So it's a very minor difference. But what it means is, unless you have that identity, it's just going to be really hard to either create those habits or either get rid of certain habits. Let me give you an example of this, right? So somebody asked um, Mr. Dan Brown that how long does he write every day? How long does he write every day? And then said, Dan is a famous author, famous books. He wrote a lot of books. So he said he writes about 4 to 6 hours every day. So that's his habit, right? 4 to 6 hours every day he writes. So now the question is, um, he is a Dan Brown. That's why he writes 4 to 6 hours a day. Or because he wrote for 4 to 6 hours a day, that's why he's a Dan Brown, right? So it means that you have to become that person. You have to become that identity, because unless you change that identity, it's just going to be really hard. So anything you want to become, the question we always ask is, what do you want to become? Who do you want to become, or what do you want to become? Because until you know that, if you want to become the best public speaker, you just need to stand up and speak more and more, right? So most people today, if you look at it, have this thing called identity crisis, right? If you worked for somebody for many years, it's going to be really hard to start a business. It's not because you don't have a skill set, it's just because your identity is created as an employee to begin with. I was one of those people. My identity was an employee for many years. To make that shift to become that business owner, I had to change my identity. Do this, what I'm doing today, I had to shift my identity. It's not the skill set. Skill set is required. Yes, we need to do it. But unless you change the identity, the skill set alone won't help, right? Identity is pretty much everything, right? So how to develop a new habit? How do I do this? If somebody wants to create different habits in 2020, you want to develop something new, here's a formula, here are the steps for you, right? And this might help if you want to create something, or if you want to get rid of something as well. It works both ways, and we're going to talk about both, right? So one is, how do you actually do it? Number one is visible. I'm going to give you all, and then we're going to through one by one, right? So visible, attractive, easy, and rewarding, right? So let's look at an example. Books and I uh, didn't have a good relationship to begin with. When I started for many years, due to my university education, due to my schooling system, I never liked books. I didn't actually have a good relationship with the books. So when the books were given to me by certain people, by my mentors, by people I followed, and they gave me the books and said, Jack, you have to read it. If you want to be successful, you must read these books. And whenever I tried reading the books, I never liked it. I never liked it. It's just because something I wasn't used to it. So I had to develop an habit. And this is how I developed an habit, right? So if you want to become a reader, if you like books and you want to read it, this is the way you do it. Number one is visible. So if you walk around my house, it's not there anymore, but it used to be like books were everywhere. You know, books were on table, books were on coffee tables, books were on dinner tables, books were on a bar, books were on the side of my bed tables, books were everywhere. My wife wasn't happy, but books were pretty much everywhere, right? So the reason for that was they're just visible. Every book is there. The only thing you do is you have to pick it up and read it. That's the way. So it was visible everywhere. Books were everywhere in the house, right? I made it attractive. Attractive means that I actually understood, if you, in my mind, that if I read books, I'm going to become successful, right? So for me internally, the shift was there that I just need to read that book. So it was very attractive for me to go and read those books, right? I made it really easy. Easy means that wherever I sat in the house, wherever I'm sitting, books were just arm's reach, right? I could just extend my arm and just pick it up books and start reading it. And I made it rewarding as well. Rewarding always, like, you know, I shared with other people and people said it's a good thing, right? So I shared all those books with other people. Rewarding means that it gave me significance, right? So means that when I shared books, when I spoke about books, when I told people about books, that gave me the significance from other people, means that this guy knows stuff, right? So that kind of rewarded me in a way. So to develop a habit, these four things must be there. Same thing applies to the gym as well, right? See, most people want to go to gym, and I was one of those people as well. Never woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning in my life, and then one day, January 1st started. And I said, first day of January 1st, I'm going to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym, right? So means that from day one, I made it really hard. So wasn't easy to do, was really hard to do, right? Things has to be visible, attractive, easy, and rewarding, right, for you if you want to develop an habit. If you want to get rid of an habit, if you don't like something and you want to get rid of that, just reverse that thing. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it hard, make it unsatisfying for you. It means that if you part of this iPads or iPhones, and you always picking it up and using it, make it invisible. Don't have it right next to you all the time. Make it unattractive. Means that every app, or something in there is in a way that you have to get through certain hurdles to open up something. Make it unsatisfying. Means that you start to tell your brain that, what did you achieve? You spent 2 hours on Facebook, right? So something like that, right? So you got the point. So this is just the reverse, right? So make it, if you want to be a good habit, if you want to create a habit, visible, attractive, easy, and rewarding. Otherwise, it's just going to be really, really hard. So let's have a look very quickly how to become good at something in 2020, this year. It's a deliberate practice, right? Number one thing has to be deliberate. Unless you deliberately decided to do it, it's just going to be hard to do it, right? And number two is create a system, right? Goal in itself has no meaning unless you have your own system. Create your system, and it's really important to have this system and then have that environment which support that system. Means that if you don't like junk food and you don't want to eat junk food this year, don't sit around those people who have fish and chips for lunch every day, right? So it's just going to be hard for you. So don't do that sort of stuff. So you must have a deliberate practice, create a system, have an environment which support that system. And I want to talk about something kind of last thing, but I want to talk about something this called the Goldilocks zone. So this is very important in this space called this Goldilocks zone. And Goldilocks zones is sort of refers to where things are just right. They're not too hard. They're not too easy. They're just right, right? And this effect is pretty much everything for us, right? So things are just right, not too hard, not too soft, not too easy. They're just right. And going to the gym, I'll give you an example for me, right? So this is what happened to me, right? I started going to gym with my wife for the first time, and then was just too easy for me, right? Going to gym with my wife is just very easy. Easy in the sense is there is no challenge. It's very kind of easy, right? I could do it and do exercise with her. Having a personal trainer on the other side is kind of very hard because it gets pushed so much. If you haven't been to the gym, just gets pushed really hard, right? The optimal one was going with a friend because it just right means that it kind of gave me a challenge, gave me something which was just in the middle. So going out, gym with the wife was kind of boring because I didn't get challenged enough, right? It was just very easy for me. Having a personal trainer was extreme on the other side because I got pushed way too hard, way too hard, right? So was really hard initially. If you haven't had a PT before, it just gets really hard because you haven't done it. If you go out with somebody or do a group session with PT, it's kind of a just right in the middle, right? So it's always important to understand it. If you want to develop an habit this year, if you want to develop anytime, right, anything new, anything you want to do it, it has to be just in the middle. You can't make it too easy. You can't make it too hard, because if it's too easy, it won't be challenging enough. If it's too hard, you're just going to stop it, right? That's what happens to most people. Wake up 5 in the morning when they never woke up, and they're trying to go to gym. It's just too hard, very, very hard on the extreme end. Go to gym with your um, daughter or with your kids, very easy. You don't get challenged, right? So you just have to be in the middle. Just have to be in the middle. Has to be just right, right? Otherwise, just get really easy. So the other point is, just get used to being bored, because most people out there who are successful at anything, they do certain things every day, right? So things are not fun. Uh, Doing this, what I'm doing content, doing videos, or doing trainings, or doing exercises, or teaching, running webinars, running events, it's kind of boring sometimes, because you just keep doing the same thing again and again. So what are you going to do? You just get used to it, right? Jumping in the pool, doing the same thing again and again is not fun every day. It's not fun, right? So going and playing cricket, going and playing soccer every day, for all those professionals, is not fun every day. But what it means is, they made it like that. It's for external people, our brain look for fun all the time. But people who's been successful, people who've been somewhere in their life, they do same thing again and again every day, right? Every day, same thing again and again. So how to make 2020 your best year ever? How do you actually do this? Create a system, right? So don't have a goals. Goals are good to have, that you want to have certain things in your life. You want to lose certain weight, you want to gain certain weight, you want to make certain money, you want to meet a partner. It's good to have that, going and walking towards that direction. But create a system in place means that if you want to become a writer in 2020, um, write 30 minutes a day. Nothing, just write it, right? So people are going to come to you and say, or are you going to say that I don't know what to write? Yeah, find it, right? So find it. That's your job, to find it. If you want to become a public speaker but you don't want to stand up and speak, um, that's kind of not going to work, right? Because if you want to become a public speaker, you need to stand up and speak. How do you do that? Improve 1%. Don't try to change everything, right? Don't try to change the entire um, thing. If you want to lose weight, just have 5 healthy meals, or one healthy meal a day at least to begin with. Healthy meals a day help you. Or some people trying to be vegetarian, don't try to change everything. Just have one veggie diet, or one meal vegetarian, right? So the other one is shift your identity. Unless you change your identity, it's just going to be really hard, because identity shift is the main thing, right? People, um, I always ask this question in my workshop, in my space. It's that, what are you becoming, right? What are you actually becoming? Because once you know that what are you becoming, everything is a process, everything is a system that just can get, we can work towards it. The other one is environment. Who's out there helping you? Who's out there helping you? Who's there in your environment? Who are those people, or the inner circle, or the people around you, who make sure you stick around to what you're doing, right? So if you don't want to smoke, stop hanging around with the smokers. If you want to stop drinking, stop hanging around with people who drink every day. If you want to become a public speaker, start hanging around people who speak. If you want to, gain weight, lose weight, you get the point, right? So you get the point. Create an environment, find those people out there. So what it means is, remember what we talked about. Just very quickly recap it, very, very quickly. Feedback loop is always running. Remember that feedback loop means that whatever you believe in, when you take action, you don't get the results, or you get the results that give you the feedback. When that gives you feedback, you create a new belief. So remember that feedback loop is always running. When you have a positive feedback loop, you move up. When you have a negative feedback loop, which is most of the people today, it goes in a backwards, right? So feedback loop is always running. Remember this. Tell yourself, am I going through a positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop? Because what I realized is you don't actually get results straight away, but you get it after 6 to 12 months. Somehow this is the way nature works, right? And if you understand the law of the nature as well, law of nature says that if you plant a seed today, you won't get a plant today, you will get it in 6 months. And that's pretty much same with everything, right? You want to have a dream, you want to have a goal, you start taking action, you won't get the results in 6 months, I mean, until 6 months to 12 months, right? It takes a bit of time to everything to get aligned and get it working. So very important, right? When you know this, the law of nature works this way. Make sure the results and the feedback loop and the belief system which you get as part of that, understand this is the law of nature, right? Law of nature works every time. So very quickly, right? So what we talked about is feedback loop. Feedback loop is always working. And we talked about uh, British cycling team and what they talked about, 1% effect, right? 1% works all the time. So don't try to change everything, completely change it, change 1%, add a little bit bits and pieces, change 1% of your habits. It's going to be easy, and it won't be noticeable, but you'll have that change, right? Instead of having um, changing the entire meals, just change one meal, right? Shift the identity, shift your identity rather than rather than staying the same person. So ask yourself this question: what are you becoming? What are you becoming? Are you becoming what? And then have the environment. 2020 is going to be best year for you if you have all these four things in place. And I promise you, we're going to talk about this in 2021 as well. And you're going to look back and saying, holy crap, I crushed everything. And the reason you crushed it is because you put a system in place, you improved 1%, you shifted your identity, and you created that environment which can help you grow and take your life to the next level, right? Hope this was useful. I really had fun sharing this with you guys. And where am I? I hope you guys can see. All right, cool. I'll have a look at all these questions, but thank you guys. And it was fun having chat with you guys today after some time, after such a long time. And I'm going to stop this sharing so you guys can see my face. I'm going to stop